anticipation for the future, but unfortunately, they would never get to see that day. April 1st, 2009, 5 months before the crime occurred, Liang received his Hong Kong identity card. He moved to Hong Kong with his daughter. The floor of the Joohoney building on Hinghua Street, where the crime later took place, for a rent of over 2,000 Hong Kong dollars per month to live with his daughter. The reason he chose this place was because the rent was affordable, and another reason was that Yang worked in Hong Kong, and the Joohoney place, a convenience store on Yu Chow Street. Shortly after, Yang also moved in with Liang and his daughter. Although Liang didn't have a stable job at the time, he was hardworking and made a living through odd jobs like moving houses and assisting with construction. He earned about 1,280 US dollars, 10,000 Hong Kong dollars per month. On the surface, after Liang, all he had to do was wait a few more months, and after his divorce, the two of them could officially be together. But all of this turned out to be an illusion, because not long after they started living together, problems began to surface in their relationship. Next, let's see how Liang Yaoqiang explained his actions after being arrested. Liang told the police that shortly after they moved to Hong Kong and started living as a family of three, Yang told him she wanted a more private life for just the two of them and no longer wanted to live with his daughter. Liang said he was very much in love with Yang, and since his ex-wife also lived in Hong Kong, he agreed to Yang's request and took his daughter to live with his ex-wife. So, he and Yang began their life together as a couple. He treated Yang very thoughtfully, cooking and taking care of all the household chores. He learned that Yang Shuyu was suffering from foot pain due to standing for long hours at her job at the convenience store. He would massage her feet every evening, helping her put on clothes and socks when she went out. Liang said he spoiled her in every way. At first, Yang welcomed this care. The two had once vowed to endure hardship together when they came to Hong Kong, but by the third month after he arrived in Hong Kong, in July 2009, their relationship began to show signs of trouble. It all started when Liang injured his hand while working, and to save money, he went back to China for treatment. Yang became suspicious, thinking he went back to China to chase women and enjoy himself. Liang stated that Yang even threatened him. "If you don't come back to me, you can go find girls in China, but I can find men here." Liang told the police that he clearly remembered on July 20th. When he returned to Hong Kong from China, he opened the door to their home and found Yang talking on the phone with someone. Liang asked her who she was talking to, but she ignored him. A few days later, on July 24th, Liang found a used condom in the toilet. Since they had discovered that Yang was allergic to condoms early in their relationship and had stopped using them, he asked Yang about it. She claimed it was just because the toilet was clogged. She even challenged him. "Did you see any man come here with your own eyes?" From that moment, Liang became increasingly suspicious, and their relationship began to deteriorate. By early August, he discovered new towels and a toothbrush in their home. When he asked Yang about them, she responded, "If you can tolerate it, then tolerate it. If you can't, just jump off the building and die." After that, they often argued about these issues. Liang believed that after coming to Hong Kong, Yang had completely changed. He said that when he went back to China to treat his hand, Yang had already found a new lover because from that point on, Yang no longer had any relations with him. Although he didn't know the identity of the lover, he suspected it was the convenience store manager, as Yang often praised the manager and acted close to him. Liang said, "Those 3 p.m. during his break, he called Yang to ask if she needed anything for dinner. Unexpectedly, he heard the voice of a man on the phone. Liang immediately asked Yang who the man was, and Yang replied that it was just the sound from the TV. Liang said he knew Yang never watched TV, and he became suspicious that someone else was at their house. After work, he immediately returned from Yuanlong to Chengshawan. When he arrived, Yang was not there, but he noticed the bed sheets and blanket were very messy, and they still felt warm. Upon further inspection, he found a pubic hair on the bed and short male hair on the pillow, which didn't belong to him. Liang explained that in addition to these findings, he noticed the trash bin in the house had been emptied, which was unusual because Yang Xiuyu had never done housework or taken out the trash. He believed Yang was hiding something and began searching every floor of the building, checking trash bins to find their apartment's trash bag. Liang recounted that he started searching from the 5th floor to the 2nd floor, and eventually, he found a trash bag that belonged to their apartment. When the police asked Liang how he was sure that the trash bag came from their apartment, Liang replied, "Because all the household items were bought by me." Yang used a Chinese brand of feminine hygiene product with a pink box, and I found the box of this product in the trash bag. Liang further explained, "That morning before leaving, I personally threw that pink box, so I was sure this was our trash." He opened the trash bag right there and found a pink box containing a tissue wrapped around a slippery object. When he opened it, he discovered a used condom, still warm and containing fluid. He immediately called Yang to confront her, asking if she had brought her lover to their home. Yang denied it. Liang said that when he continued to ask where she was, she told him she was having dinner with her ex-husband in Mongkok and then hung up. Liang knew Yang's ex-husband, so he immediately called him to confirm if he was having dinner with her. The ex-husband replied that he was not. After that, Liang went all over Mongkok looking for Yang, hoping to catch her and confirm whether the lover was the convenience store manager. He wandered around Mongkok but couldn't find any traces of Yang. Eventually, he couldn't take it anymore and called Yang to tell her what he had discovered and demanded that she return home quickly. But Yang didn't care about what he said. Liang then searched for her from after 6 p.m. until 11 p.m., but still didn't find her, so he decided to go home and wait. During the time, he kept calling Yang, but she didn't answer. He waited for her to return home while his thoughts raced. Around 1 a.m., he finally heard the sound of the key turning in the door. Liang said, "At last, I waited for Yang to come back, and when she did, she smelled of alcohol." He mentioned that as soon as Yang entered, she became aggressive and scolded him for being suspicious. He then took her phone to check, but he found nothing. This wasn't because Yang was innocent, but because she had deleted all her messages and call history earlier. Around 3 a.m., Liang left the house and went to the convenience store where Yang worked. He bought 2 cans of beer, drank them, and waited for the store manager to arrive for a direct confrontation. However, after finishing the 2 cans of beer and still not seeing the manager, he decided to return home. When he got back, he found Yang talking on the phone in bed, speaking in a very provocative and challenging tone. Liang explained that when he saw this, he snatched the phone out of Yang's hand and accused her of talking to another man. Liang testified that at that moment, Yang lost her temper completely, saying, "Who I talk to is none of your business." And she mocked him for rummaging through the trash to find evidence. She even said, "You think I'm cheating on you? I'll show you what cheating really is. I have many men on the side. I can call whoever I want. Even the ugliest ones are better looking than you, and every one of them is better in bed than you. If you can't take it, go jump out of here." At that point, Liang felt worthless after Yang's insults. He tried 3 times to open the window and jump out, but each time Yang stopped him. Liang said that after about half an hour of arguing, Yang called her ex-husband, claiming that Liang had hit her. Liang recounted that when he heard this, he grabbed Yang's phone and apologized to her ex-husband. Liang said that afterward, he took the condom he had found earlier that day and confronted Yang about it, but she claimed she was allergic to condoms and couldn't have used it. Liang recalled, "I don't know why, but after that, we were quiet for a and then we had sex again. However, after it was over, Yang continued to insult him about his sexual performance, saying, "You're useless. I meet men outside, and every one of them is better than you, bigger than you, and lasts longer than you. You're pathetic, only lasting 2 minutes." Liang said that Yang even took the condom he had found in the trash and shoved it into his mouth, saying, "If you want to slander me, then eat this. Maybe it'll help you last longer. Among all the men, you're the useless one. Can't even make money, and your manhood is nothing." Hearing these words, Liang said he couldn't control himself anymore. First, he slapped Yang twice. Then he forcefully squeezed her neck for 10 seconds. Liang explained that after he released her, Yang didn't stop but continued to taunt him, saying, "If you had that kind of strength earlier, I wouldn't have needed to cheat." Liang said that at that moment he didn't want to argue anymore, but Yang kept going. "Your ex-wife cheated on you too. Who do you think you are? Your daughter was also born because your wife cheated." Liang recounted that hearing this made him furious, and he grabbed a knife, pointing it at Yang, warning her to stop talking. But instead of stopping, Yang continued to provoke him, saying, "Do you have the guts to stab me?" Liang explained that at that point he lost control, and he slashed Yang twice across the face with the knife. However, he quickly regretted it and apologized to her, helping her stop the bleeding. He offered to take her to the hospital, but Yang replied, "Who would want me like this now? I'm only worried about my daughter. Just go ahead and kill me. I didn't expect to die at 35 at your hands." Liang said that hearing these words, for some reason, he raised the knife again and kept slashing at Yang. He couldn't remember how long he continued, but during that time, he considered opening the window or going to the rooftop to jump, yet he didn't want to die without knowing the truth about Yang's affair. He wanted to take the condom to get it tested to see if it belonged to the convenience store manager, but he wasn't sure how to go about it. Eventually, Liang decided to see his daughter one last time and visit his parents' graves before ending his life. After visiting his parents' graves in China, he tried to overdose on sleeping pills but was saved by others. He later regretted it and remembered his daughter's words, so he returned to turn himself in. This is the version of events that Liang Yaoqian confessed to after being arrested. Of course, this is just Liang's one-sided account, and its authenticity still needs further investigation. Next, we will see whether the truth can be uncovered in court. Will Liang Yaoqian be able to clear the doubts in his mind in front of the court? Will we find out who his lover really was? Whether it was the convenience store manager or the regular customer the manager mentioned, or if there was no affair at all? 1 year after the case, on October 11, 2010, this sensational case was officially brought to trial at the Supreme Court. Liang Yaoqian was charged with murder, but he denied intentional homicide and admitted to manslaughter. Liang's defense attorney argued that at the time of the incident, Liang had lost emotional control and acted out of provocation by the victim. However, the prosecution questioned the credibility of Liang's testimony. For example, Liang had claimed that he hadn't had sex with Yang Shuyu for several months, but just before the incident, they suddenly had sex. In fact, the semen found in Yang's body was confirmed to be Liang's. The sudden intimacy after months of no sexual contact before the incident seemed illogical. Liang explained that he didn't understand why, but at that moment Yang appeared very eager, which led to them having sex. Yang's ex-husband, Liu Jie, first shared how he met his ex-wife. He explained that they had known each other since childhood while studying in Jiangmen, describing Yang as having worked as a secretary in there. Later, a relative in China informed him that they had seen Yang with another man, which he confronted her about, but she denied it. Ultimately, the two divorced, but Liu Ji admitted that he still loved Yang, and they kept in touch. Yang had once confided in him, saying that she wanted to break up with her boyfriend, Liang Yaoqian, but Liang kept following her. Yang also mentioned that Liang had a violent temper, and that if she brought up breaking up. However, Liu Ji acknowledged that Yang had hidden from him the fact that she was living with Liang. He described Yang as stubborn, persistent, and capable of manipulating men. Liu Ji also recalled that around 5 a.m. on the day of the incident, Yang Shuyu called him, saying that she had argued with Liang. She expressed window. Afterward, Leon left the house, then called later saying he had no money and wanted to come back to sleep at her place. Liu Jie said that Yang sounded very frightened. The next morning, he tried to call Yang 4 or 5 times, but he could not get in touch with her anymore. The convenience store manager described Yang as a good employee who excelled at customer service. The manager explained that he had offered to give her more responsibilities, including a management and office position, and even promised her the position of manager if he opened a second location. However, the manager said Yang had never shown much interest in becoming a manager. When asked in court if he agreed with the suggestion that the victim had used sex to advance her career, the manager strongly denied it, stating that it was untrue. A 39-year-old minibus driver named Chen Busheng was also summoned as a witness. Interestingly, when he testified, Chen was wearing a mask. Typically, witnesses in court are required to show their faces, even those testifying behind a screen or during the pandemic, as it's important for the judge and jury to observe the witnesses' expressions and body language during their testimony. However, Chen wore both a mask and glasses, covering most of his face. Moreover, during his testimony, Chen spoke in a quiet, hesitant manner, often stumbling over his words. When asked about his personal information, he remained silent and only responded after the judge repeatedly prompted him. So who is this mysterious minibus driver? It turns out he was the lover that Liang Yaoqiang had been trying to find, and he was the regular customer manager had mentioned when reporting to the police. Chen testified that before the incident occurred, he drove the M45 minibus route from Ming'an Hospital to Yuchao Road. In early August, about a month before the incident, he met Yang at a convenience store on Yuchao Road. The two became good friends, getting along well, dating, and going out to eat together. Yang confided in him about her situation, telling him that her boyfriend, Liang Yaoqiang, frequently got angry and scared her, always accusing her of cheating. Yang also told him that Liang had once used a knife to destroy a phone in their house out of frustration, and that she wanted to be with him. Chen testified that on the day before the incident, September 11th, he knew Liang had to work, so he arranged to meet Yang outside. However, Yang asked him to come to her apartment. Chen brought 2 condoms with him and had sex with Yang in the apartment where the incident later occurred. Afterward, they went to a restaurant to eat. Sex again. Chen stated that both times they used condoms and threw them in a trash bin located on the stairwell between the 2nd and 3rd floors of the building. Afterward, he took Yang to eat cake in Jordan, and then they went to Mongkok for dinner. During dinner, Yang received a call from Liang, who said he had found used condoms in the trash bin at their home and demanded that she return immediately. Chen stated that he was concerned for Yang's safety and advised her not to go back home, but Yang insisted on returning. The next day, when Chen was unable to contact Yang, he instructed her supervisor to report her disappearance to the police. One notable aspect of Chen's testimony was when he was asked about his marital status. He hesitated and said he couldn't remember. Only after the defense presented documents did he admit that he was married. Chen emphasized in court that, aside from the 2 instances of sex on September 11th, one day before the incident, he had never had sex with Yang. Finally, under cross-examination, Chen admitted that in order to protect his family and wife, he had tried to minimize his statements about his relationship with the victim. After several days of trial, the jury, consisting of 4 men and 3 women, deliberated and reached a unanimous verdict in less than 4 hours, declaring Liang Yaoqiang guilty of murder. The judge strongly criticized Liang for his brutality and cold-heartedness, stating that the bloody condition of Yang's body was the most horrific thing he had seen in his many years as a judge. In the end, Liang Yaoqiang was sentenced to life in prison according to the law. Notably, due to some particularly graphic images of the victim's body, the prosecution chose not to present these images in court to avoid impacting the jury. Although Yang Shuyu's fate was sealed, for Liang Yaoqiang, prison was not the final stop. After being sentenced to life in prison, he appealed multiple times, and his appeals were accepted. Over the 12 years following his arrest, he underwent 3 trials. Each time he was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison, but he was allowed to appeal. In his final appeal in November 2020, the Supreme Court accepted his appeal and, in July 2021, changed his conviction to manslaughter, granting him immediate release. In its ruling, the Supreme Court made it clear that if the murder case had to undergo a fourth trial, it would place significant pressure on the defendant, Liang Yaoqiang. The fact that Liang had already undergone 3 trials was deemed sufficient. Furthermore, it had been 12 years since Liang's arrest. Considering his guilty plea and good behavior in prison, this was equivalent to a sentence of 27 years. This 27-year sentence far exceeded the usual penalty for manslaughter. Even if Liang had been convicted of murder, the actual time served would likely have been between 20 and 30 years. Dear viewers, it can be said that the motive behind this crime, driven by being provoked and being called impotent, is indeed unusual and rare. But it is also something worth contemplating. Indeed, love is always intertwined with sex and the emotions that come with it. Therefore, let us all prepare ourselves to maintain good health. Finally, what are your thoughts on this case and the verdict of the defendant? Feel free to discuss with us in the comments below. Goodbye, and see you next time. On a September morning in 1994, the peace of Jiamusi City, Heilongjiang Province, was shattered by a horrifying discovery. Local residents frantically reported to the police station about finding 2 plastic bags containing human legs in the thick bushes along the eastern bank of the Songhua River. Before the news could settle, the suburban Yonghang Police Division received similar reports. More human body parts were discovered scattered throughout the area. Police quickly arrived at the scene. They quickly cordoned off the area and carefully collected the dismembered remains, packaging each part separately for forensic examination. Although many body parts were missing, making victim identification difficult, preliminary examination revealed a heartbreaking truth. These were the remains of 3 victims: a man, a woman, and a child. Investigators suspected they were from the same family. Since the riverbank wasn't the primary crime scene, the investigation faced significant challenges. In the early 1990s, when forensic technology was still rudimentary compared to today's standards, tracking the perpetrator's traces became increasingly difficult. Despite the investigators' best efforts, the case remained a maze without an exit, forcing them to temporarily suspend the investigation. Time passed until June 1995, 9 months after the first case, when another chilling report reached the police. Residents had discovered more plastic bags containing human remains in irrigation ditches among rice fields near a bridge in the southern part of the city. Within less than a year, 4 lives had been taken, putting immense pressure on local law enforcement. Each day that passed without finding the perpetrator added to the growing unease among residents. In the forensics laboratory, experts meticulously pieced together the newly discovered remains. The examination revealed that the victim's head was missing, with only some body parts remaining, including the left chest area. Besides determining that the victim was male, others remained elusive. However, veteran investigators with years of experience began forming sharp hypotheses. When combined with autopsy results, what seemed like an unsolvable mystery started revealing new leads. Although the body parts were pieces provided valuable insights into the victim's lifestyle. For instance, the yellowed fingernails matched characteristics of a long-term smoker. The slightly curved spine and developed leg muscles suggested an office worker who spent long hours sitting. Based on bone age, the victim was estimated to be between 32 to 35 years old, standing approximately 5 feet 10 inches to 5 feet 11 inches. Through these deductions, investigators began forming a general profile of the victim, but without facial features, where she was. At this point, the police devised a strategy. They broadcast an information request on local television during primetime news, running continuously. Male accident victim currently in hospital. Height approximately 5 feet 10 inches, strong build, with a scar on left wrist. Reward offered for information. Contact details provided. Unexpectedly, this broadcast would crack open the case. Shortly after airing, an elderly man called the police number.